All right, let's start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem, B'chai Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is Various Topics, dated August 4th, 2026. And pretty much, I don't really have anything specific to go into, but I'm just going to go in the spirit. There is a video that was sent to me earlier, Dabu 77. Absolute chaos, house torch in Spokane, tree still standing, mailboxes melt, mail doesn't. And there's something going on. So I'm not going to play the audio. I'm just going to play the video and just read the captions here, the closed captions. He's asking if anybody has any information on those fires in Spokane, where it says metal mailboxes have melted. This is metal mailbox, as you see, it's melted, right? But check it out. Yet the Amazon package inside is still there untouched. And this right here is a map that he showed of smart cities, DOT Smart City Challenge. And all of these in the orange are all different states that they're pushing to get these D to the A to the T to the A centers in. And you know how this devil does. If he can't get the stuff one way, he'll get it another way. He'll find ways around it. Whether he uses eminent domain, whether he burns it down, whether he torches it and then comes in and buys it for pennies on the dollar. You know what I mean? These devils are devious. They've done this since they've been in power. And they're still doing it. That's why the scriptures say, Yahushua said it best, except those days be shortened, there shall no flesh be left to be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Because this devil is not going to stop. He's on a rampage. He knows he has a short time. He's pushing this agenda fast and furious. He's going full speed, Operation Warp Speed. And he's not going to stop. And the Lord is allowing him to go. He got him going. Only thing that got to happen, really, to really speed things up for the kingdom to come is the MOTB. That's going up too because, with the 5 to the G and the 6 to the G, this is all setting up the whole system that they need. And all they got to do is once the system is set up, they say, well, this is the only way you're going to be able to operate in the system. And if you don't, and you already see that the small hats are the ones really behind the whole agenda because they're pushing legislation out there that if you speak against them in any shape, form, or way, you're going to be, pushed out of the way. There was something that was sent to me. I can't remember exactly how it was worded. It was just some woman that was, speaking about, that they're coming after people that are speaking against them. The anti to the sem to the, all that crap. I can't really remember exactly every word she said, but it was the video was sent to me, and I believe I sent it to the Elder Malcolm. That's not it. Just bear with me 1 second. This is it right here. We will track your Google. We will find your vulnerabilities. We will get you fired. If you have a business, we will bankrupt you. See, anyone who criticizes Israel is our enemy. See? So pretty much they're ramping that up. So when this system is in place, who do you think is setting the system up? And if you don't agree with them, if you speak against them, even if it's true, you're going to be shut out of the system. And that's biblical prophecy. And we've been speaking about this over and over and over and over again. So this right here, this is all setting up the stage for even more, grid control. See, part of the 2030 agenda, smart cities, listed here. You can see the fire that just went on is next to the place where they want to put that D to the A to the T to the A center. See? Right where the data center is scheduled. Now, what's crazy about this is metal melted, other stuff melted, but trees, plastic, cardboard, paper. So this is not a normal fire. Just like in the Panama Deception. You have certain structures that were untouched. You know, especially those that have blue on them. You know, other structures were completely singed. So this is the same technology that they used down there, but down there, you know, among Jake, that was used as the testing grounds. Now that they tested it and see that it works, now this is what they're doing with it. So you see, this is strategic, because if there was an actual fire in this area, the last thing that would burn up and melt would be metal. The first thing that would burn up is grass, trees, you know, wood, houses, and things of that nature. Yeah, see, they're asking questions as to why there's still trees standing. Metal has been melted in place. Everything else destroyed. You know? So you see all of this area destroyed, but why are these trees not destroyed? If anything, the tree would have went up quicker than cement, you know? And then how is it that you got all this grass here, all these trees here, this whole house went down, but then you got trees and you got these houses here. You got these trees here and they're untouched. See? So there's something going on. And they're pretty much, see right here, it says this vehicle was torched, right? The aluminum, metal melted, glass melted, singed. But here it is. This that was right next to it, which should have just went up quickly because it's dry, wasn't even touched. So there's something going on behind the scenes. See? Boom. The plastic bottle, plastic trash cans, right? Now look. Tree over here. Trees over here. All this stuff burnt down. So they're systematically, you know, targeting homes, vehicles, areas. You see? So something's going on. Now, let me get real quick Micah chapter 2. And we may go into the NLT also. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon the bed. Matter of fact, another one came to mind. Let me get this one first. Isaiah 5 and 8. Woe unto them that join house to house, that they lay field to field, till there be no place, that they may be placed alone in the midst of the earth. Right, and this is what Esau is doing. See, he's systematically setting it up to where these people, they're in a maze, in a rat maze, and all of the distractions that they have going on around them, they don't see what's coming. They don't see that the trap is being set while they're in the trap. Their trap is being set around them while they're in there. You know, you got your 15-minute cities. You got these different areas where people are going to, where you could go to the supermarket, you can go to the shoe store, you know, you can go to the movies, you can go to the bar, you can go to a restaurant, you know, all within the same location. And people look at it as a convenience, which it is, but it's really a trap. It's pretty much the trap that they're setting, because they want everyone corralled as animals in a cage, and then them having the rest of the world to themselves, which is the best parts of the world, right? So let's see what this says in the NLT. What sorrow for you who buy up house after house and field after field until everyone is evicted and you live alone in the land, right? And that's, you got your, you know, your Gates Bill, or however the fuck you say his name, Gil Bates. You know, we got to speak in code here. Buying up all the farmland, making fake meat. There's this video where they showed a piece of steak that looked like steak, but then when they cut it open, it was pretty much stuff that was glued together. You know, and people are not feeling well. People are opting, they don't even want to eat anymore because they feel like shit for eating. Because you got to ask yourself, when you go to these different restaurants, you got thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people daily going to this place, these different restaurants. Where the fuck are they getting all this food from? If there's so many shortages and there's, you know, so much, you know, these farms, you know, are not producing like they were producing at one time. Where the hell are they getting all this food from? Ask yourself, why is there? So this is Micah chapter 2 and 1. Woe to them that devise iniquity. And this is iniquity. When you do shit like this, that's straight up hardcore iniquity, man. You burn down places because you have an agenda and you want to take these different lands, but because these people don't want to give you the lands and they're fighting against you and they're protesting, which is their right to do, you come in there and you burn it down or you condemn it. So you could come in there and buy it, you know, for pennies on the dollar, so you could establish whatever you want. You're going to get what you want anyway. You know, it ain't a matter of, well, you know, since the people don't want it, so we'll just move somewhere else. No. You're going to cause something to happen, or you're going to pay some bribed senators to pass, you know, some type of legislation to where, okay, if this right here happens to burn down or it be condemned, then it could be bought for pennies on the dollar. And that's exactly what's happening, like it happened in Argentina with Patagonia. You had that sellout that was paid off to put in legislation that if land burns, that foreigners can come and buy the land cheap. And that's what them I to the D to the F soldiers are down there doing. Because it's a beautiful land and they want to take it. You're not dealing with moral people. You're dealing with corrupt. You're dealing with the wicked, the ungodly. The ungodly have no scruples. They have no morals. You see? So going back to Micah 2, woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. Right, because the scriptures also tell us that they can't sleep unless they have done some type of wickedness. Proverbs 4, and I'll start at 14. Enter not into the path of the wicked, and go not into the way of evil men. Right, these are lawless men. These are evil men. They have no heart. It says that the tender mercies of the wicked are cruel. So if his tender mercies are cruel, how much more just him in general? It says, avoid it, pass not by it, turn from it, and pass away. For they sleep not, except they have done mischief, and their sleep is taken away unless they cause some to fall. So if they don't cause somebody to fall, do something evil to someone, they can't sleep. Matter of fact, this is why in Isaiah 33 and 1 says, woe to thee that spoilest, and thou was not spoiled. See? The word spoil means to rob. When you go to war and you overcome or defeat the enemy, you take the goods. And taking the 92 and did, you know, the Panama the Panama Deception video where they lasered people down there. They killed people down there. They went up into Venezuela, gangstered Venezuela, took the president and his wife, if they wasn't complicit with it, which they probably more than likely were, because they would have probably killed them if they weren't. They wouldn't have brought them to, you know, extradited them to America. They would have probably, you know, slayed them on the spot as they did those mercenaries from Cuba. You know? And they're taking lands, coveting fields, taking lands to push their agenda. And it doesn't matter if the people want to sell or not. They're going to take it. That's just what the devil does. Just spoil, devastate, ruin, destroy, spoil. That's why when you stop doing this, you're going to be dealt violently with. And that's why America is going to go down with violence. Let's go to Revelation 18 real quick. And 20. And this is what we're supposed to be rejoicing when we see these things. Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets. This is after the destruction, for the Most High hath avenged you on her. And the mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone, and cast it into the sea, meaning into America. This, the peoples, nations, and tongues here in America, saying, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more all. So the angel actually cast it into the sea, but it's a representation of America being destroyed. It says, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more. So let's go to the word violence. Stop the violence. The word is hormema, a rush, impulse, that which is impelled or hurried away by impulse, right? So it's an attack, precipitancy, violence. And this place is going to go out violently because it was established violently. It was established upon blood, and it cannot be cleansed unless that blood, is cleansed. And it goes to the root word horme, a violent motion, see, impulse, a hostile movement, onset, assault. See, it's an assault. See here, Acts 14:5, and when there was an assault made both on the Gentile Israelites and also of the Jews with their rulers, to use them despitefully and to stone them. James 3:4, behold, also the ships which though they be so great and are driven of fierce winds, yet they turned about with a very small helm, whithersoever the governor listeth. The fierce winds, violent winds. Okay, assault. So let's go back. So America is going to go out by violence. What did I have before that? Okay. So Shaddad, to deal violently with, despoil, devastate, ruin, destroy, spoil. So when you stop spoiling, devastating, you will be spoiled. When you stop dealing treacherously, but God, to act treacherously, deceitfully, deal treacherously, right? Because you make people believe that they're going to fare well as long as they play by the game, by the game, or by the rules of the game. But the whole time those are not your intentions. Matter of fact, let's go to Psalms chapter 50. I'm sorry, not 50. Psalms 55. Psalms 55, and I started at 19. Matter of fact, I started at 18. It says, he hath delivered my soul in peace from the battle that was against me. Yeah, and there is a great battle that's being waged upon the people of the Most High, the Israelites, by the international banking families. And then you have some, lower groups, like these white supremacist groups, but they're being funded by, the international bankers anyway. For there were many with me, right? And there's many of these devils that's coming against the truth, coming against the Israelites, but at the same time, there's many, angels that are with us. There's more with us than with them. The Most High shall hear and afflict them, even he that abideth of old, see, the ancient of days, Salah, because they have no changes, right? Because nothing, when these devils do stuff, they do wickedness to the highest degree and get away with it, therefore they fear not the Most High. Because it's like, if you keep doing wickedness and nothing happens to you, then why should you fear the Most High? That's how they're looking at it as. Well, God is with us. Ain't nothing happening to us. We're doing all this wickedness, and he's with us, so he ain't judging us, so obviously we must be doing something right. That's how these devils feel. They think that the Most High is on their side. But what they don't understand is the Lord is allowing them to accumulate all of these different iniquities until their iniquity come to be found out to be hateful. And that's when the Lord is going to drop a load on them. He hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He hath broken his covenant. Right, because he tells the people if they do the right thing, he will work with them. You know, we come to an agreement, like the situation with Iran. You know, situation with Iran is, you know, supposed to have been through diplomatic, you know, means, you know, ceasefire, right? Let's come together, right? So when they're about to make an agreement, America, Israel secretly bombed their leaders, bombed their infrastructure, and it's something they're doing over and over and over again. So you can't trust them because they break every promise they make. They break. They made over 450 treaties, I believe it was, with the tribe of Gad here in America, and they broke every last one of them. That's why in that movie back in the 60s, Ricardo Montalban, which played a Gadite, he said the white man's words are lies. They speak with a forked tongue. They don't mean what they say. When you hear what they're saying, they mean something else. There's always ulterior motives behind the words of the devil. He's never going to come straight out and tell you what the deal is. He's never going to straight come out and tell you that he you know, and mean it, that he's going to do, you know, the right thing if you play by the rules. It says the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet with a drawn sword. So he has war in his heart, and his words, you know, are drawn swords. But when they speak smoothly like butter, softer than oil. But the intention behind it is evil. That's why it says, "Never trust thine enemy, for as wickedness, for as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness." So going back, treacherously is an adverb that means acting with hidden danger or breaking someone's trust, faithlessly, deceitfully, or hazardously. See? So pretty much, using the example of Iran, you know, they making these deals with Iran, but they're really not keeping, you know, the promise, because it's all about getting them to, you know, put their guard down so that they can come and, you know, afflict the most damage. And seeing that they're running out of ammunition, what they're doing now is they're threatening to do this and threatening to do that. You know, they said that Trump has had about 20 taco moments so far, right? So what this is called, because I was watching Dialogue Works with I believe that was Nima. Yeah, Dialogue Works with Nima. He got I'm not sure what ethnicity he is, and he had this guy on there called Colonel Jacques Baud. Jaqeues. Then the last name was Baud. Jacques Baud, right? And he spoke about something called gunboat diplomacy. Now, gunboat diplomacy is pretty much like a shock and awe. No, or actually, no, not the shock and awe. Shock and awe is different. A gunboat diplomacy is threat, political, or economic demands without starting an actual war. See? Because they were hoping they would have had a Venezuelan moment. They were hoping that by threatening, you know, the Iranians, that, you know, seeing that there was a much smaller country, that they were, you know, that they were be like, man, we don't want to fight this big giant. But nah, that only backfired on you. So it says coercion without war relies on intimidation and the visible presence of force to pressure a government, stopping just short of open warfare. You know, but in this case, they seeing that the gunboat diplomacy didn't work. Well, actually, they came in shock and awe mode first, where they just dropped a whole bunch of bombs and, you know, hoping to overwhelm the enemy so that they can give up. When that didn't work, they started to go into deception, saying we're going to have a meeting, we're going to have diplomacy, and then bomb them again. Now that their arsenal is getting very, very short, Trump is resorting to gunboat diplomacy. We're going to hit him hard, we're going to hit him hard, we're going to hit him tonight, we're going to hit him really hard. You know, they're going to wish they would have made a deal. They're going to want to make a deal. They're going to hit them very hard. That's gunboat diplomacy. This weekend, they were supposed to bomb the hell out of Iran, and nothing happened. And they were hoping that by doing that, that will get them the desired effect. But Iran ain't biting. They were waiting. There were certain individuals that stayed up all night waiting for the bombing, and nothing happened. Historical roots grew popular during the 19th and early 20th centuries, during the age of imperialism and colonialism. Direct goals used to secure trade privileges, collect debts, or force territorial and political concessions. Famous historical examples: Commodore Perry in Japan, 1853, U.S. Navy warships sailed into Tokyo Bay to force Japan to open its ports to foreign trade. The Don Pacifico Affair, 1850, the British Royal Navy blockaded Greek ports to force compensation for a British citizen. The Venezuela blockade, 1902 to 1903, European powers used gunboat actions to press financial debt claims against Venezuela. Okay? So that's what America is using right now, because America does not have the arsenal anymore. You know, they're very depleted. You know, and they have to be very strategic now as to what they're going to intercept, because they're running out of munitions. So when you stop dealing treacherously, they're going to deal treacherously with D. You dealt very deceitfully, and the people are starting to see that. And the world is watching. See the difference between World War I and World War II, and the different conflicts that happened throughout the 20th century, the 1900s, was that you didn't have the surveillance and the access to the amount of information that we have today. But there's cameras everywhere. There's reporting going on everywhere. See, everyone has a cell phone recording this and that and the other. So back then you could do that. You could do certain things, and it will take a while before people would catch on. But now with the internet access, the information going out so fast and quickly, people are waking up to you, and these nations are preparing. You better believe that all those different nations that America, is against, they're all building up their arsenals. They're all building relations with Russia, China, Iran, and other nations that are against America. You have the Axis allies or something like that, and the other one, I don't remember the two names. I'm not an expert at that. But that's what's happening. And America is so pompous in their military that they're even puffing at their own, allies. That's why it says here in Obadiah, 1:6, how are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. See? And what does that mean? That means you can't come up to our border. You got to get the hell out of here. You had Spain, you had other, so-called European countries that said, nope, you can't launch from here, you can't bring your stuff here, you can't fly over, you can't do nothing here. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee, right? Because there was an agreement, the NATO agreement, that if one went to war, they all go to war. They're breaking it because they're seeing that you're fighting this war for the mini-cap cats, and they're not willing to sacrifice their structures, because America hasn't been hit by war like that. You gotta understand, during World War I and World War II, Europe was devastated. England, so on and so forth, they were devastated. Germany, so they're not trying to go back to that stage to have to rebuild again. They already did it twice. They're not trying to do it a third time. So it says, they that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee, there is none understanding in him. So let's go to, let's see, what does it say in the NLT? All your allies will turn against you. Yeah, they will help to chase you from your land. They will promise you peace. They are plotting to deceive and destroy you, because it's the same thing you're doing. When you shall stop, dealing treacherously, they shall deal treacherously with thee. When you shall stop spoiling, they shall spoil thee. Your trusted friends will set traps for you, and you won't even know about it. That's right. So let's see what else. BBE, all the men who were united with you have been false to you, driving you out to the edge of the land. The men who were at peace with you have overcome you. They have taken their heritage in your place. So you get the idea. So going back to here, Isaiah 33:1. So it says, woe to thee that spoilest, and thou was not spoiled, and dealest treacherously, and they dealt not treacherously with thee. When thou shalt cease to spoil, thou shalt be spoiled, and when thou shalt make an end to deal treacherously, they shall deal treacherously with thee. And that's what you have to look forward to. O Yahweh B'Shem Yahshai, be gracious unto us. We have waited for thee. Be thou their arm every morning, our salvation also in the time of trouble, right? Because when all this stuff happens, we, unlike America, Russia, China, we don't have anything to fall back on except for Yahweh B'Shem Yahshai. We don't have, military, equipment. We don't have, an army. We don't have none of that shit. So we rely solely on Yahweh Tazabawath, the Lord of Hosts, which is the Lord of the armies. Because he's coming to defend us, sending Yahushai and the angels. Michael and the rest of the angels are coming to defend us for when all this stuff goes down. So going back to Proverbs 4:16, for they sleep not, except they have done mischief, and their sleep is taken away unless they cause some to fall. I wanted to look up this word, mischief. Ra'ai, which is to be bad, be evil, right? So Rai is evil. Ra'ai is super evil. It says to be displeasing. And that's what these devils are. Man, wherever these devils go, they cause nothing but confusion. They cause nothing but death and destruction. Proverbs 29:2. And when did all this happen? When did evils really start to grow on the earth? Wickedness start to grow on the earth? When the devil took over. First Maccabees 1:7. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died. That's when the Edomites took over the known world. Back in 333 BC, or in that time frame, circa. And his servants bear rule, every one in his place, meaning his generals. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. So evils were multiplied in the earth when the Edomites took over the planet. The earth, it was wicked, but not to the extent that it is today. So, to be displeased, Proverbs 29:2, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. So the people are in mourning. You jump to the 16th verse, when the wicked are multiplied, transgression increaseth. And that's what we see going on. Ever since the Greek Empire took over, but the righteous shall see their fall. And this is what we're waiting for. This is what we're praying for, hoping for, praying for every day. That this devil falls, that the Lord destroys Babylon the Great. So, the word there is ra'ai, meaning mischief, is to be displeasing, to be sad, to be injurious. See, be evil, to be wicked, be evil. Okay? So, reading this again, for they sleep not except they have done mischief, and their sleep is taken away unless they cause some to fall. For they eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence, and that's all they do. All they do is bring about wickedness and violence. NLT, they eat the food of wickedness and drink the wine of violence. So if you reap what you sow, you shall receive wrong for the wrong that you have done. And that's what's coming for you. But the path of the just is as a shining light that shineth more and more unto the perfect day. See? So as this devil's going down, as his wickedness is being, revealed, and as they're doing their wickedness, the path of the just is shining brighter and brighter every day. Verse 23, keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. And that's why it's important for you to pay attention to what's going on. Receive this word, study it, get it into your spirit. Because when that time comes, this is the only thing that's going to keep you. All right, so what else do we have? Micah 2:1, woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. Right. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hands. And when you look up this word power, it goes into the Hebrew word Allah. See right here, which means power, God-like one. Allah, God-like one, mighty one. So they have that God-like power to do good, but they're not going to do good. All right? They're going to continue to do evil because that's in their nature. And why are they doing this? And they covet fields. Matter of fact, let's see what it says in the NLT. When you want a piece of land, you find a way to seize it. See? And that's why you have this here. These are lands that they want to put the D to the A to the T to the A centers. The D to the A to the T to the A centers. And you better believe if anything is in the way, they're going to find a way to move it. They're not just going to come in and send the military. They're going to cause some type of FF event. They're going to cause some type of, calamity, destruction, or whatever the case is, emergency. Condemn it, contaminate it, so that they can come in, clean it up, and then set up their agenda. When you want a piece of land, you find a way to seize it. When you want someone's house, you take it by fraud and violence. Yep, eminent domain. You cheat a man of his property, stealing his family's inheritance. And that's proven here with America. All of this land here in Canada, Mexico, Central America, South America, and the Caribbean islands, you took that. You took the world, pretty much. You got to pay for that. Now I had another part for this lesson, but seeing that, I didn't know the Spirit was going to go this direction with it, I was going to talk about this real quick, about this fire that's going on, this mysterious fire that's going on, burning mailboxes. But inside the mailbox, you have a package, an Amazon package, right? The mailbox melted, right? Metal mailbox melted, but the package inside of cardboard is untouched. So they're doing something. And you can see here by the map that they have this agenda going to set up all these, D to the A to the T to the A centers to get this MOTB system off the ground. They just need to hurry up and do what they got to do. That's all we're saying. So with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. Till the next time I say Shalom, and Lord's will, the Spirit hits, I can go into this other part of the lesson that I wanted to go into, the Spirit allows. So with that, Shalom.